Hey guys, welcome to Twin Flame Truth. I'm Elle Hari, #1 international best-selling author, and Twin Flame and Ascension alchemist, writer, teacher, and coach. Today we're discussing waiting for your twin flame. This episode is going to be really helpful for those of you who feel like you're just hanging out, waiting for your twin flame to be magnetized in, or to reappear, or to show up, or hit you up. But before you get into that, I just want to remind you to click the link below this video to see all of the different ways we have, the catalog of ways we have to assist you along your journey, no matter your circumstances, no matter your situation, no matter your finances, or where you are on your journey, or where you are in terms of relating with your twin flame. Okay, so you might get to a point on this journey, and this happens with very common with our students who they finish the Magnetize Your Twin Flame coaching program, or no, they don't finish it because they haven't yet magnetized in their twin flames, but they're feeling like they've learned all of the modules that they need to learn, and they haven't yet magnetized in their twin flame, but they've been applying the work, they've been resonating with it, they've been doing everything they need to do, following the action steps, and they're feeling amazing. They feel so balanced, they're seeing improvements in every area of their lives. And, they're seeing the fruits of their efforts. And really the blessings that this journey can bring to you. But their twin flame hasn't shown up yet, which is fine. There's no such thing as time on the realm of the soul, and we're dealing with the soul here, right? This journey must take place on the level of the soul, and there's no such thing as time, because time is a fear-based 3D physical world phenomenon, or illusion. Really, it's an illusion. Whereas for the soul, which is eternal, there's no such thing as time, because it just is forever and ever and ever. There's no end game, so there's no way to even determine time. If that resonates, I hope it does. So having said that, when our students get to the point where they're feeling great, and they'll be able to feel balanced and great for however long it is, and everyone, again, it's not predetermined, it's unique and individual for everyone. Then all of a sudden they get to this point, and they usually don't even realize. It's very uncommon for them to realize that they're in this waiting stage, or this waiting point, right, for their twin flame to show up. So they're still feeling good, but they go through, but then what happens is their fear-based push energy is not going to let them just be complacent. The soul won't let you be complacent, right? The soul, you need to keep progressing along your journey. Their soul's not going to let you just hang out and feel good, without anything new being magnetized in, to help you balance even more. And again, this goes, mostly they're not conscious of this. They don't realize that this is what they're doing, but they go from this place of feeling balanced, feeling great, just liberated, so relieved that they're no longer feeling like or having the obsessive thoughts, no longer feeling the core wound pain, anything like that. And then what happens is, though, unbeknownst to them, they still think they're, flowing right along, doing great. But then what happens is, what's actually going on is their fear-based push energy gets into this waiting mode. It's almost like it's lying in wait for something to happen, for the twin flame to be magnetized in, right? That, of course, is your fear-based push energy. So ideally, if you're in the waiting zone, which is what I call it, then you would want to identify that is your fear-based push energy, and to just bring it to light, just realize it, own that that's what you're doing. You're waiting for your twin flame to come back, and then own that, no, we're not going to do that. Tell yourself, we're not going to do that anymore. We're not waiting for our twin flame to come back. Why? Because what is waiting? Waiting is actually not being present. And what's necessary for this journey in all spiritual practices, the foundation of it all is presence. Now, I grant you cannot be present all the time, 100% of the time, every day of your life. None of us are there yet on that level of consciousness. We're just not there yet. To be present 100% of the time is ascension. That is what happens when you reach ascension. You're completely, always, totally present. None of us are there yet, so we're not going to be totally present, which is fine and perfect. That's how, coming out of the present is how we then can see more ways to balance, to align, to transmute fear-based energy into love, and progress and advance further along our journey. But when we're in the waiting stage, what it's doing is focusing on some future event or having an expectation, right? Both of those things are fear-based energy. Not being present is fear-based energy, because your fear-based energy doesn't exist when you're present. So that's why it always wants to come back in. You're feeling balanced, you're doing great, you're enjoying all the fruits of your journey. Your twin flame hasn't come in yet, then you're waiting for your twin flame, because your fear-based energy comes back in, take you out of the present, because it can't exist in the present. It just doesn't exist, because presence is love and truth. Fear and love cannot coexist. So fear can't exist in the present. So fear has to either bring you back to the past and focus on that, or bring you to the future and focus on that. So that's what waiting is. Waiting is anticipating something and expecting something from the future to come in. So that's not being present. That's not being enjoying your present moment if you're waiting for something else. I hope that resonates. So that's why waiting is fear-based energy. And if you catch yourself, if you are honest with yourself and you think you're in the waiting stage, then you really want to own that. You really do. Because what happens when you don't own that is your fear-based energy can sit there and lie in wait for a little while. But it's only gonna, it's fear-based energy, and it can't just be, it can't be present in one spot. It'll start to build up. And as long as you're waiting, you're giving it the space to build and feed itself. So it feeds back up during the waiting period if you don't own it, and if you don't recognize it, and you don't call it out. So say you're in the waiting period, you're not consciously you're doing it, because it's really not, you don't really feel it. It doesn't invoke strong emotions or surface feelings to be in the waiting period, right? It's very, it's almost indistinguishable from just feeling great, until your fear-based energy is in the waiting period for a certain amount of time. And again, that's totally unique and individual to everyone, but it's in the waiting period, and then it starts to get restless. It starts to get impatient. And then this is where people tend to realize, oh, here is my fear-based push energy again, because the impatience, they start to feel that. They no longer are feeling like calm and just like, okay, good, I'm just here, right? Present. They're starting to feel impatient. And then if they even let that go, which, most people catch it there, but if you can let that go, and the impatience just builds and builds and builds, and can turn into full-blown anxiety, panic, nervousness, anger, whatever, right? And then, your fear-based push energy is totally run away with it, right? So, the sooner you can catch your fear-based push energy and own it and see it, the better, always. And here's another thing. So from the balance part, where you're feeling balanced and good and you're magnetizing and all these amazing things, not yet your twin flame, but compared to the waiting stage, where it feels not very different at all, because you still have those things magnetized in, and you're still enjoying whatever you magnetized in, and most people do not realize when they're in the waiting stage, which is why I wanted to do this episode. But when you're in the waiting stage, what happens is, remember, that is your fear-based push energy, even though you're not really feeling it. But when you're in the balance stage, yes, you can magnetize in whatever, including the physical form of your twin flame. When you switch to the waiting stage, which again is very indiscernible, most people don't catch it, when you're there, that's your fear-based energy there, pushing out. So even when you're in the waiting stage, there's no way when you're in the waiting stage, your twin flame will be magnetized in. You need to catch your fear-based push energy If you miss it in the waiting stage, get it as soon as you start to feel impatience, or being like, where is this twin flame, or this isn't working, or what's going on, or I didn't do this right, and your fear-based push energy will start to still have those thoughts about you. After it gets to the impatience stage, it's going to start being like, oh, you really messed this up, you don't know what you're doing, great, whatever, we should have just contacted them when we were balanced, or whatever, all this other stuff, right? Obviously that's just your fear-based push energy, really fucking with your mind, because that's what it does. It controls your mind. But, you want to catch it. That's why it's so important to really be aware of it as soon as you can. And if you can't catch it in the waiting stage, that's perfectly understandable and acceptable, because like I said, very few of our students do catch it in that stage. Because again, you don't feel any different. You don't even really have strong thoughts about it. You don't even realize you're focused on the physical form of your twin flame or on the future when you're in the waiting stage. Impatience, then you do. And as soon as you get to impatience, if you miss in the waiting stage, which is fine, you want to definitely own it in the impatience stage for sure. Because then again, it's when you start to feel it, when you start to have thoughts and you really can notice it, and you will in the impatience stage, that means your fear-based push energy has fed up enough for you to notice it, which means, it's growing. And we don't want it to grow. Remember, we want to stop it. We don't want to feed it. We need it to shrink down. But it's no big deal. This is the journey. The journey is a process. We call it a process for a reason, because it isn't just one and done. It isn't just like, oh, okay, so I am now feeling amazing. I'm no longer on the floor. I no longer have obsessive thoughts. My core wound pain is deactivated. I'm every part of my life is just going amazing. I'm not even thinking about my twin flame, and and then that's it. And then your twin flame's magnetized in, and that's it. No, your twin flame can be magnetized in at that point, of course, before you even get to the waiting stage. But your twin flame, but it's still a process. So your twin flame gets magnetized in because your soul magnetized them in, so that what? Because when they're magnetized in, your fear-based push energy reacts. And it's that reaction of your fear-based push energy that you are meant to see. And you're meant to see it because you're meant to see the denied shadow part of yourself. That's what this journey is about. That is what your twin flame is showing you. And that is what your fear-based push energy is. It's your denied shadow part of yourself that you are meant to see. And by the way, I know there's other modalities and things out there that mention denied shadow self and all of this, and your shadow self. That's not the same thing that I'm talking about, by the way. This is the denied energetic shadow part of yourself. I just wanted to clarify that. So take anything else you've ever heard of shadow part, no relation. Just forget about it for the purposes of this discussion, please. So you have the denied shadow part of yourself that your twin flame, that's their whole role in this. Even though they're not aware of it, they're not consciously aware of it, their whole role is to show you the part of yourself that you're meant to see. And that is your fear-based push energy. So that's why this even happens. That's why your soul magnetizes in your twin flame repeatedly throughout this process. It's not just one and done. It'll be happening repeatedly because you're meant to see your fear-based push energy more and more and more until you finally have balanced it all out regarding your twin flame and twin flame journey. And it is a process. It's not one and done. Now, your fear-based push energy will think as soon as you magnetize in your twin flame, oh, it's done. It's done. Yeah, we did it. All right, let's forget all about this other crap about the soul and about not feeding the fear-based push energy and just go with it. Well, of course, because your fear-based push energy doesn't want to not be fed. Like all energy, it wants to grow and expand. It's its natural inclination. So it's going to trick you. It does control your mind after all. So it's going to be throwing in all these thoughts about like how anything to get you to feed it more. And as long as you believe the shit it's selling you, you're feeding it. So it's not one and done. And even if you magnetize in your twin flame, right away, that's perfect and great. But they could. If your fear-based push energy builds up enough and pushes out enough, they're going to pull away again. And then so you need to rebalance, right? So you rebalance, but it could be that time before the twin flames magnetized in again, that you go into the waiting period, you know, or it could be the next go around, or it could be every go around, you know. So it's not just like one and done. You're not gonna potentially be in this waiting room or this waiting area, the waiting part for, you know, one time. You could potentially be in it every single time. That's why I wanted to call your attention to this. Because even if you've magnetized in your twin flame and you're hanging out with your twin flame right now, you know, your fear-based push energy could build up enough where it pushes out enough for them to pull away enough, right? And then you go through the process again and you rebalance, and, you know, that's great. Then you start feeling great again, but then guess what? The potentiality is there for you to re-enter the waiting period, right? So we don't want to do that. So just be aware. The whole point, the moral of this story, of this episode, is to be aware, to be honest with yourself, to really own if you think you are waiting, if you're lying in wait for your twin flame to show back up. And if you are, you need to recognize that, identify it, and bring it to light. And as soon as you bring it to light, as soon as you say, no, I am not going to wait for that. That is not what's going on. That is my fear-based push energy. Guess what you do? By shining that light on your fear-based push energy, you stop it from feeding like that. Now, having said that, I mean, it will stop, but it could take, you know, again, time is unique and individual, but it could take a day or two for, you know, where you're constantly on it, like every minute almost, right? I mean, who knows? That's all unique and individual as well. Well, where you might have to keep calling it out, keep reminding it, and be like, no, there you are. That's my fear-based push energy. I am not going to buy that. I am not going to lay in wait. I am not waiting. You know, there's nothing to wait for. I'm whole and complete. I'm whole and complete already on my own. My twin flame is already with me because my twin flame is me. There's nothing to wait for. And it takes your focus off of the 3D. It takes your focus off of, you know, the physical form of the twin flame. It takes your focus off of the future and back to presence, where your fear-based push energy cannot exist, and then therefore cannot feed. That's the important part. It cannot feed. Anyway, I hope this episode was resonant for you and enlightening, and I hope you find it very helpful. So thanks for tuning in, and I will see you on another episode of Twin Flame Truth. Lots of love.